So today we have a range of Star Wars updates. We're gonna start with some speculation for the Ahsoka show, and then I'm gonna give my opinion on some comments made by Michael Shannon about the Star Wars franchise. But to start with some more light stuff, let's talk about the Ahsoka show. The Bad Batch Season 2 confirmed to us that Gungi survived Order 66. The most adorable little Wookiee from the Clone Wars Season 5 made it, but the Bad Batch never confirmed to us what happened to him next. Season 3 is going to be the final season of the show, and while some fans might say we're gonna find out what happened to him in that season, I don't think so. I think Lucasfilm left it open-ended for a reason, and that reason might be his story is going to be explored later in the timeline in the Ahsoka show, which reintroduces Hayang, a character who appears alongside Gungi in the episode of the Clone Wars Season 5, A Test of Strength. In that episode, Hayang comments how Gungi is a Wookiee and how it's rare for members of his species to join the Jedi Order, and if Gungi does make a surprise appearance in Ahsoka, that will be yet another character who knows Omega. But speaking of characters who might appear, it dawned on me there is a very good chance we see Plo Koon in a flashback. Plo is Dave Filoni's favourite Jedi of all time, and while he died in Revenge of the Sith, he played one of the biggest parts in Ahsoka's early life. She was discovered by him, and we could see that flashback in live action. Dave Filoni loved him so much, Plo Koon was the character used as a stand-in before the big reveal of Luke. They kept that a secret from everyone. From Katie Sackhoff to Ming-Na Wen, they all assumed it was going to be Plo Koon to come and rescue Grogu, but it ended up being Luke. But the fact they had a mask made, they had concept art created, makes me think Dave is not going to waste this opportunity. We might see Plo Koon again, as I say, in a flashback or multiple flashbacks to Ahsoka's time at the Jedi Temple. And this also opens up the possibility of others as well. But with that little bit of speculation out of the way, today we have a couple of updates. Some crew merch on Skeleton Crew, and that is a lot of the word crew in one sentence, has been unveiled. Nothing too special, just a badge with the year 2022, when they started working on the show, but of course it comes out in winter of 2023. Later this year, probably a Christmas present. In other Star Wars news, Michael Shannon explains why he turned down a Star Wars role, saying, quote, "I don't want to make mindless entertainment. Those are certainly some strong words. A controversial opinion, mindless." The star who returns to his role as General Zod in the new DC movie The Flash explained in a new interview that he doesn't find big blockbusters very stimulating, which put him off taking a role in the galaxy far, far away. Speaking to Empire, he said, quote, "I'm always a bit wary of those giant movies because they take a lot of time and I don't find them very stimulating to work on. I don't ever want to get stuck in a franchise. I don't find them interesting and I don't want to perpetuate them. If I'm making something," he says, "I want there to be some kind of purpose to it. I don't want to make mindless entertainment. The world doesn't need more mindless entertainment. We're inundated with it." But he does open up about joining the DC universe a decade ago and how it differs to working on a Star Wars project, calling DC very relevant to modern day. It's basically looking at a civilization that destroys their own planet and think the solution is to go off and destroy another. He then states, "When you hear that hypothetically if we destroy the Earth, we might just go live on Mars, it's the same thing. I didn't look at Zod as a villain. I just saw him as a guy who wants to protect his people." So what do I make of this? On the one hand, Michael Shannon is right. If you creatively want to make something relevant, then go off and do that. But is he right to say Star Wars is irrelevant, it's mindless? I don't think so. I don't think all of it is. If we're talking about George Lucas' Star Wars, it certainly was relevant, and definitely not mindless. The hero's journey, the messaging, the storytelling, the way George was inspired by the politics of the day, it wasn't mindless. But what about recent content? Well, if you're talking about something of the caliber of Star Wars Andor, there is no way you can look at that show and say it's mindless. It has so much social and political relevance to today's world, and honestly, one of the few Star Wars shows in the Disney era that has something to say, something beyond the space opera sci-fi elements. But even other shows like Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi, they have meaning to us fans, so I think Michael Shannon is absolutely wrong. And Star Wars for many fans is an escape. They don't always have to be saying something. Some fans just want the escapism. They just want to put on Star Wars and enjoy the stories that we love. Michael seems to think that everything you watch has to have some kind of social or political message, but not every show you watch has to remind you of the real world. That's literally the point of watching something like Star Wars. I mean, sure, there is some messaging incorporated like anti-fascism, criticism of certain institutions, but it's not got to be every single thing you're in. If he wants to go and do that, then fine. But to call Star Wars mindless is erroneous thinking. But that is just Michael Shannon's opinion, and if he doesn't want to be in Star Wars, then fair enough. But share yours in the comments down below. And so now, my dear friends, we have a special look into Star Wars Eclipse, the High Republic game in development at the moment at Quantic Dream, and there is a special segment looking into the studio by BFM TV. Now this was all in French, but luckily your girl Meg is fluent in French, so I'm just going to give you the rundown while you look at this footage. So in this segment, they go inside Quantic Dream, they speak to the developers, the CEO, and they do address some of the controversies in the past, but they do say they've put that behind them. The Quantic Dream of today apparently is nothing like what they were in the past, and I know there are fans who are not happy about this. They don't want Lucasfilm engaging with the studio in the first place, but they insist all of that's behind them, and in regards to the upcoming Star Wars game, it's looking really good. It probably won't come out for another few years, but they do assure fans things are going smoothly. We see the 150 cameras or thereabouts. The cameras also function as giving a template of images that really helps shape the characters, gives them a reference point from scratch, in particular for the humans. We also see some of the sound design, how they do the footsteps on different terrains, the footsteps, the various sounds, and on the face of things, Star Wars Eclipse does look like a game that has a lot of promise. The trailer that released a couple of years ago was cinematic, so it wasn't gameplay, but if you remember, it definitely got us all talking. We saw Coruscant, the Jedi Council, Yoda, which is also probably going to feature in the Acolyte as well, Neimoidians, smugglers, those tribal worshippers of the Force, some new species, armies. It really looked to be an all-encompassing Star Wars gaming experience. When it comes to the ships, we saw N1 starfighters, some awesome planets, High Republic Jedi, so any update on this for many fans is very good news. The general director of Quantic Dream, Guillaume de Fondomière, assured fans that Quantic Dream is moving in a very different direction, away from what they were known for in the past, some of the darker aspects. He says they want to get back to focusing just on video games, nothing else, and they realize how monumental and massive this opportunity is. And so finally, my dear friends, John Boyega said he misses those he worked with on Star Wars, in particular Daisy Ridley and Oscar Isaac. He says, you kind of miss these people after a while, and the connections you made. Now if the rumours are true, he's playing coy, because word on the street is he might be returning for the 2026 Rey movie. Are they finally going to make him a Force-sensitive Jedi? Is he going to train with Rey? Now one final thing before I go, Ubisoft confirm all of our suspicions. The upcoming Star Wars Outlaws video game is going to explore some familiar locations. We spoke about Kijimi, Canto Bight, Tatooine, but also Akiva, which appeared in Aftermath by Chuck Wendig, and this is a welcome surprise. It has connections later in the timeline to Wedge Antilles. It's also one of the first planets the New Republic dealt with before things started going south in terms of management. Share your thoughts on this and everything we spoke about in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, my dear friends, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you, always.